Hi, I'm Jimmy DiResta, and I'm going to show you my shop here on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. I'm going to talk about some of my tools, some of my toys, and we're also going to go upstate and take a look at what I have in my garage upstate. Thank you for joining me. What I have right here in my front room is my CNC machine. When I first got this, I really honestly didn't think I was going to need it, but it's become invaluable. I'm able to do branding, which has become a big part of my business, signage, badges, logos. I'm able to do all that on this CNC machine better than I ever have been able to do on a bandsaw. So if you're thinking about it, it's a good investment. It will pay for itself in a short period of time. This is a mechanical hacksaw made by Miller's Fall in Massachusetts, patented 1892. I got this thing on Craigslist. I paid 70 bucks for it. It's not quite as efficient as a bandsaw, but there's something really cool about it. This has been cutting for the last 13 hours. It's almost through. This is my Rycon bandsaw. It's sort of my portable bandsaw whenever I do Make a Fair or if I do an on-location bandsaw demonstration. I take this with me. One of my videos, I made the base for this. On my TV show and some other spots, I've complained about how this place floods, and a lot of time water comes from above at the apartments and the storefront up here. And recently, water came down on my table here. I gotta polish it off, but that's why you see rust over here. What I have here is my Craftsman chopping bandsaw. This was a gift from Craftsman when I did a TV show called Hammered. Thank you, Craftsman. This is actually a really great saw to have. I can cut steel and angles at right angles, which is really helpful. I can use my hand bandsaw for smaller stuff, but bigger repetitive cuts, I set this up. It's not the highest quality, but it works great for me, and the same blade has been on here now for about 6 years. So as long as you keep the blades oiled and you don't cut too much too fast, you're pretty good. My shop is made up of a few rooms in the basement of this tenement building, and in this room here you see furniture that my girlfriend makes, TaylorForest.com, steel and leather. She makes it all by herself. She just learned how to weld about 2 years ago, and she's already selling in stores and online. So it's possible, it's really possible. This is another little offshoot room, and in here I have a small milling machine which I very infrequently use, and that's because it's such low quality, grizzly. I got this for free. A shop was closing and they were literally giving things away. And this is about a $600 or $800 unit, but I got it for free, and I typically use it for slow drilling. Right here we're drilling holes with this hole saw, and of course you got to slow it down quite a bit. This is my industrial sewing machine. It's a Juki. I actually have 4 of them, and I have a walking foot, which I'm going to do some upholstery videos with. And this is a great unit to have, much stronger than your typical sewing machine that you would have like in a case. Those things are virtually useless for this sort of work that you want to do. And this was $500 used. I bought it in Midtown here in New York City near FIT. And typically where there's a school that teaches sewing and that type of stuff, there's lots of stores that sell sewing machines, of course, and that's where I bought this. People often ask me what do I do with my projects after they're done. About 10% of my videos are client work, and I think you can tell the difference. A lot of the other videos are just fodder for making things. I want to demonstrate certain techniques or materials, and I make that object that I just think of strictly for the video. So I have a lot of stuff sitting around from my videos. They just hang out. Eventually they'll find a way up into the future barn that I'm going to make. I have materials piled everywhere in my shop. I save everything. Scraps of steel, plexiglass. We even save cardboard for packing when we move big jobs. Plexiglass, styrofoam, wood. This is sort of the wall of all various different types of materials. But right when I first came in, you saw a lot of plywood. Here's steel. 25-foot pieces right here. They go all the way to the other side. Most of the stock comes in at 10 and 12 feet. It's a little bit easier to handle. Here's all my plywood that I recently had delivered. Comes down the hole from the truck. I put it here, I park it here, and as I need it, I pull out of the pile. Hanging on the wall is the saw that upset so many people. I made this for Make Magazine, and if you hashtag ShopFace, you'll see all the various people that visited my shop. If you come and visit my shop here in New York City, you do a selfie in this mirror and you hashtag ShopFace, and then you go up on Instagram. Here we are walking into my shop. There's the bathroom. Somebody's making a pee. Here's my fireproof cabinets. There's stock everywhere. And right here is the welding station that you see in a lot of the videos. And I have a TIG set up right here. This is a DC TIG, which is always at the ready. It's always ready to go on, and we use this most often. Here somebody's using my Miller. This is a great Miller DVI. This was the very first DVI. I got it from Miller. They gave it to me when I did a TV show called Hammered. It's awesome, and the fine folks at HTP also send me some stuff from time to time. And here's another welder. This is a Lincoln wire-fed flux core. I got this at a garage sale. It comes in very handy when we got to do stuff when we don't need tanks and we have low voltage. So that's a good on-the-spot welder. Now I'm here in the shop that you see most often in all the videos, and it's a bit of a mess, but honestly I kind of like it this way because it keeps me thinking. All the different things around me inspire my visual thinking. This is my new favorite welder. This is a gift from the folks at Longevity. This is the TIG Welder 200SX. It's dual voltage, so you could do 230 and also 110. And it's a stick welder and a TIG welder. And most recently, you could see me feature this in the coffin video. But I have a build coming up where I'm going to build an aluminum stand for this exclusively. It's going to be all about the stand for this particular item. If you're thinking about getting into TIG welding, this is an affordable. You can do AC/DC, it's awesome. AC/DC means aluminum and steel, more or less. And of course, the center of the room is the Rockwell Unisaw. I bought this used about 23, 24 years ago, and it served me well all this time. It still runs great, and I've hardly had to service it. Once in a while, I go in and I tighten up the pulleys and everything else, but it runs fantastic, and I keep it nice and clean, and it runs great. This is my second Unisaw. I bought this on Craigslist a couple weeks ago for $100. It was in pretty bad shape. I cleaned it up the best I could. I got it in working order. Now it's my dedicated dado saw. Kind of running out of room in here, so I'm trying to make some new plans. Here's my Arbor press from Harbor Freight. This was $100 and something, and it's come in tremendously handy just to have sitting around the shop if I want to bend metal or press things together. It's cheap enough. It takes up a little bit of space, but it's good to have. And then also from Harbor Freight is my dust collector right now. I don't have the best dust collection system, but I keep this connected directly to the saw, and it does a pretty good job. And once in a while I drag the hose around and clean up the shop with it. Buried under all this junk is my sander. I don't really use the disc sander too much because it just creates too much sawdust down here. I use it when I have to, but I always have alternatives with better dust collection systems connected to them. I'm using this little porta cable down here in the shop, really just for air nails and for blowing things off. It's okay, but I can't create too much noise. I have neighbors upstairs, so this thing goes on and off pretty quickly. This is my tool storage cabinet that you watch me make. I used to keep it locked when I had roommates here, but I don't have any roommates anymore, so I just keep it open. This is a great file drawer. Got this at a garage sale. I keep all my various different things in here. It's a great high quality antique file cabinet. I've had this for years. It's my DeWalt crosscut saw, radial arm saw. I don't use it as much anymore, but it's there when I need it. You see me use my new Beaumont sander a lot in a lot of videos. A lot of people ask me why am I sanding metal on my belt sander. This is a belt sander for metal. Occasionally I sand wood on it, but it's really for making knives and tools, and it's a great asset to have if you're thinking about getting into metal work. We use it a lot of times to square up the ends of the metal that we're connecting, and of course that's why I made the machete. Moving on here, you have my bandsaw that I use quite a bit, and this thing is great. It runs slow and steady, and that's why you can get nice metal cuts with this. Of course I can hold it, but I put it here and I just put a squeeze clamp on the trigger, and it basically becomes a porta bandsaw that's standing upright. People ask me why I paint my tools white, and I specifically paint my tools white so that I can brand me. I'm not being paid by anybody, so there's no reason to brand anybody but me. Here you see my rigid chop saw. I got this, I think, when I worked on a TV show called Against the Grain. They sent me a bunch of rigid tools. So thank you, Rigid. Here's my main bandsaw that I use for pretty much everything, although I do have a few bandsaws, as you'll be able to see in the video. Delta bandsaw. I bought it with that table saw about 20 years ago, and this thing is awesome. When I got it, it was basically brand new, and it's still in pretty good shape. I keep it tuned up. I'm always changing the blades on it, so I use it for everything. Right now, I'm currently working on this, which you're going to either see or maybe you have seen it. I'm making a aluminum hatchet handle. This is my Walker Turner drill press. I have two Walker Turner drill presses. I have this one that is the one I use most often in the videos, and I have another one set up over there with a mortise tenon jig on it. So I got like 5 drill presses, as you're about to see, but this is the one I use the most. MK2 sharpening system. You can get your plain blades nice and razor sharp using this system. It's a really good system to have. Grinder, buffing wheel you see often. These are just some various tools. I collect old knives. Whenever I see antique knives, I grab them. South Bend lathe. I bought this in Chinatown here in New York City. I bought it used. I think I paid $500 for it about 15 years ago. And I use it for everything. It's great to have. Here's my little Unimat. Bought this at a garage sale. I think I paid 50 bucks for it. This is a big giant flywheel I'm going to use for a project. I just haven't figured out what yet. It's an awesome piece of machinery to have. Here you see my blunt lathe. I've had this since I was about 6 or 7 years old. My dad bought a bunch of tools at one time when I was a little kid, and this was one of the tools. The very first time I ever used a lathe, I used this machine. And I still use it from time to time. I'm not a big wood turner. You see by my videos, I don't make a lot of things, but I have it when I need it. It's a great tool to have, and I have a video coming up where I make table legs on here, and I make the legs and the whole table all in the shop here. Here in this pile of junk you see a Delta MIDI lathe. I got this about 6 or 7 years ago when I worked on the TV show Hammered. Delta sent that over to me. Thank you, Delta. Then you see this in the video where I make little table legs with a steel cap on them. This is the lathe I use. This foot power jigsaw is about 100 years old. I got it at a garage sale in upstate New York. Look for it in an upcoming video. Here you see my Vulcan anvil I've owned for about 10 years. I bought this on Craigslist for 100 bucks. And then this is the one I most recently restored in a video. And I paid 100 bucks for this one too, but it was destroyed. I obviously fixed it to at least working condition. And here's another little tiny anvil. I don't do too much like traditional blacksmithing. It's just nice to have anvils to bang things on. Blacksmithing is something I will get into soon. I have some plans for some blacksmith projects, so look forward to that. The best way to get around New York City is to drive a Vespa. This is my used 2005 Vespa GT200. I bought it used. It's been stolen and recovered one time here in New York City. Because of the aluminum decking, some of my friends actually saw it and they knew that it was mine. And so I got the phone call, I went over and picked it up. It was in the projects. This is sort of a road warrior for me. Today I was in Brooklyn and I picked some garbage. There's a dumpster over in Brooklyn full of this 2-inch thick caulking. They must have used it as soundproofing in a bar. But this thing never fails me. Always starts no matter how cold it is, and it's the best way to get through the traffic. So I welded this rod on so nobody could take my mirrors off. And I made it into a cup holder. Yeah, hey, what's up? It's my friend Karen. Say hi.
Hey, what's up? Seriously, who did that?
Someone sliced my seat, so I just wove it back together. That happened about 2 years ago.
And this is cork?
Yeah.
Far out.
This is my leg vise. I bought this at a flea market in upstate New York. I think I paid 70 bucks for it. It's in pretty good shape. We cleaned it up a little bit. The only problem is just missing a chip right there, which I might repair. But I buy these things to use them, so that doesn't bother me that much. What you see here is a model of a barn that I plan on building in my property in upstate New York. It is 40 by 60. It's going to have an apartment upstairs, a full weather apartment, and downstairs is going to be the full open shop with all the various tools I have collected. They're all going to be in one location. So look forward to some videos for that. Right now getting some quotes on having the frame built. It's a pole barn, and I'll take you upstate and I'll show you some of the stuff that I have upstate, and you'll see the location where it's going to go. Let's go. So here I am in the clearing that will eventually be the location of the barn, the model I just showed you in New York City. This is on, oh, I just saw a deer just ran through the woods over there. What you see behind me is my storage unit. It's a 40-foot shipping container I picked up about 3 or 4 months ago, maybe. It's 40 feet long, 8 by 8 feet. It alleviates the space now inside my garage. I'm able to put all the junk that I don't use in here. And I also store a lot of wood in here. Sheets of plywood that I keep for projects. So I buy a whole bunch at one time. I know I have it when I need it available. If it's a weekend or a Sunday, I know I have supply up here. 2003 Harley Davidson Lowrider. It used to be my main transportation in the city before I got the Vespa. But the Vespa's a little bit easier to handle and it always starts. My 2000 Honda XLR runs good. I keep everything in running order up here just to make sure that it doesn't deteriorate. Here's a little quad that came with the house when I bought it. It was in the garage. It runs well when it's running. When it doesn't run, it's a nest for the mice. It's a bandsaw I picked up at a garage sale for about 50 bucks. I couldn't pass on it just because it's so odd looking. And it came with this cute little companion, which I'll restore one of these days. If you're thinking about getting a shipping container, it's actually really convenient because in one day you got a giant storage space which you could lock up. It's waterproof and you could move it if you need to. It's not attached to the ground. So one of these days, once I'm done building the barn, I'm going to turn this into a cabin or something out in the woods. We'll figure that out once the time is right. This is my 1986 Chevy Silverado military truck. It was a military mail truck. I bought it from the county for $1,500. It's got 50,000 miles on it. If you look up the model number on Google, it's the M1008. That gives you all the specs. There's several of them around for sale. I got a really good deal on it, and it never dies. It always runs. It's a 24-volt system, so it has 2 batteries, 2 alternators, 4-wheel drive, high suspension. It really kicks ass. I love this thing. This is my 1969 Chevy C10. It has a straight 6 in it. It's a 250. It's got 3-speed on the column and a clutch. 43,000 miles original. I bought it in Arkansas. Got it off of eBay. I bought it actually 1 year ago this month. I bought it October of 13. And you remember in the video where I did the tailgate over, I originally intended to do this in steel, but the gauge that I had was too thick, so I had to use this aluminum I had lying around. And I consider this just a holding space. I eventually am going to get to the right steel, and I'm going to TIG weld in a whole new piece that's the right material for this job. This was just an experiment. The truck is in really good shape. It's got very minimal rust. I love the fact that it's got the scallop in the rear fender. That's what I always really wanted. And one video coming up soon, I'm going to put cowhide on this seat. We're going to make a pattern and stitch up cowhide. The cowhide is in the other shop. This is my 2013 Chevy Silverado LTZ. I customized the tag there. I love this thing. I've already driven it pretty much about 50,000 miles all around the United States since I got it. It's an awesome truck. This is my Polaris Ranger 570. I love this thing. We got it this summer. We have a big beaver pond out in the back. I'm actually going to make a video at one point this next couple days featuring some parts in and around the beaver pond. So this is great. I get to explore the 40 acres like I never have before. It's awesome. If you're thinking about getting one, I would definitely get one. Right now here in upstate New York, all I have right now is this little garage. It's usable with the acquisition of the container that I bought. I'm able to take all the materials and some vehicles I don't need, store them in the container. It gives me room to work in here. Let's take a look inside. This is my Victorian era coffin. You guys know now that I have a fetish for coffins. This I picked up at an antique sale a couple of months ago. It was used to transport bodies around and not necessarily used to be buried in the ground. It's got straps on it, buckle straps that are designed to open up again, so that description I found might be right. My prized possession is this Bridgeport. According to the serial numbers from the 60s. I picked this up in New Jersey. In Jersey City, a friend of a friend had to get out of his shop, and he didn't want to take it with him, and he basically gave it away. It did cost a lot of money to move it up here in upstate New York from Jersey City. That's about a 140-mile ride, and you know, also including the heavy carry and the heavy transport. So it cost me about $2,000 to get it up here, and the machine came with Lots of tooling. It came with a vise, an indexing head. There you see piles of tooling. I got a lot more tooling. There's some tooling down over here. In an upcoming video, I'm going to make a tool chest that's going to carry all the tooling and the bits and pieces that go with this thing. But it's awesome. I just got a VFD, which in case you don't know, this is able to convert 220 single phase into 220 3-phase to run this motor. And it also has a variable speed, so I can change the pulleys if I want. I could also just change the cycles for the motor on this and it'll slow it down. As you know, I used it in the anvil video. I got some more projects coming up, so you'll see that soon. And this particular drill press I found on the streets in Soho, New York. I got a call from a friend early in the day. He said there was a drill press on the street. And I didn't get the time to go over there until about 5 hours later, and it was still sitting there. And I threw it in the leg hole of my Vespa, and I drove it back over to the Lower East Side. And it works great. I didn't do anything to it at all. It's just exactly how I found it. It works great. This is my Craftsman chop saw, which you've never really seen in videos too much, I guess in the Lowline video. I got this when I did the TV show Hammered. They sent over a bunch of tools. It's great, works really well, compound, miter, slide. As you can see, I have a lot of different welders. This particular welder is a Precision 225 TIG and stick welder. I bought this on an impulse buy, foot pedal, AC/DC, pulse control. It works fantastic. I just wish I could use it more. I just don't weld up here that much. But one day, when I have my big barn, this will get used more. This is my Delta shaper. It's a Delta Rockwell shaper. Probably from about the 40s or the 50s. I got it at a garage sale. It needed work. Everything was sloppy and loose inside, and it also had a 3-phase motor in it, which I switched out to a 110 motor. So if you follow me on Instagram last year, you saw me working on this. I still haven't used it in a video, but I will soon. What you see here is my second blunt lathe, probably from around 1930s, 1940s. I got this, a friend of a friend moved into a house and said, hey, do you know anybody that might want this? And of course, I got the call. I paid $100 for it. It's a really good lathe in good shape. I just haven't had a chance to use it yet. It runs fine. It's the same exact lathe as the one I have in the city. It just doesn't have the logo here. Here's a drill press from Delta. I hardly ever use it. It's really just up here for emergencies. I got it from the production company that did Hammered. So this was a freebie. In the same deal where I bought a bunch of tools, I bought this shaper and a bunch of wood and some hand tools. And this beautiful Walker-Turner bandsaw is made in, I think, New Jersey. Made in New Jersey. Plainfield, New Jersey. This is probably from the 1940s, judging by the Art Deco design. This thing is rock solid. It weighs probably about 400 pounds. It works great. I use it up here occasionally for resawing wood. This is my Delta bandsaw that I've had since I was a little kid. My dad did a package deal when I was about 6 years old, and he bought this and the blunt lathe, which I talked about in the city. In some of my interviews, I talk about my cousin turning this on the back, turning the pulley while I used the front of the bandsaw because the electric for the whole shop was shut off. This is the bandsaw that my cousin would turn the pulley, and I would push wood through the blade, and we would take turns doing that. And that's how I learned how to use a bandsaw. This is my Delta X5 table saw, left tilting arbor. It's about 7 years old. You see me use it in a couple of videos, and this is the video that I hammered on. Everybody got upset. They thought I was going to break the casting on the top. Takes a lot to break those castings. This thing is in great shape. It runs great. Right here you see my DeWalt radial arm saw. I bought this on Craigslist for $100. Ever since I started using my sled, I have a sled up here for my table saw. I don't use this as much, but it's good to have in case I need to cut through a big slab or something like that to make a big cross cut. Up here I'm able to run this bigger compressor because it's a little bit noisy. And this is a Craftsman, 150 PSI, 30 gallons. It runs pretty good. It's good for using the plasma cutter and air nailers and just general purpose. It's pretty good. Seems there's a lot of good compressors out there. I don't know which one is the best, but I've never had one burn out on me, so that's good news. Not something I can keep in the city, but here in my upstate spot, I can keep oxygen, acetylene, I could melt metal, I could do a little brazing, I could heat up the top of my anvil to soften it a little bit, to anneal it. This is a great resource to have if you can have them. Of course, it's dangerous and you got to store them properly. I just recently picked up this Echo 16-inch chainsaw, which I used in the log video where I made like the hollowed out log, and this blower, which I used to clean up the shop and get rid of some leaves. Pretty good brand. There's a local distributor, which is the reason why I end up having these Echo machines, but they work great. And a good thing to keep good care of them is to use this engineered fuel. I just found out about it, and this stuff never goes bad. It's not like regular gasoline. It doesn't clog up your injectors and your carburetors. Keeps everything clean through the winter. We have here is a sanding buffing stand, probably from the 1920s or 30s. I don't know, when was electric invented? Because this looks like it was invented right after electric. It's really sexy. It's got this beautiful base, and I'll put a buffing wheel or something on it and keep it freestanding in the shop once I get to it. It plugs in and it actually turns on, but this cord is what my dad would call a widowmaker. So all that will be changed once we get to it. If you like me, you like to mow the lawn. It gives you time to think. And I mow here about, I don't know, about 3 acres maybe. And the simplicity with a 52-inch deck. I bought this brand new from the local distributor. It hasn't been any problems aside from the fact that I run over rocks and I'd break the blades, but that's my own stupidity. This is a Kalamazoo chopping bandsaw. It was on the deck of a ship down at New York City Seaport. The historical seaport. They used to use it in their metal shop, and then apparently somebody decided they didn't need it anymore. It was going to get scrapped, and my buddy Barry, who looks out for me, called me and said, hey, they're going to get rid of this bandsaw down here. You got to get it before the scrap truck comes. The motor actually works. I've hooked up the end of the plug and it works, although it obviously needs to be rewired. And the pulley works, everything works. It just really needs a good stand, a good cleaning, and a new blade. With this you can cut a profile that's 16 inches by 12 inches in solid steel. This is what you have up here in upstate New York. Oh, there he is. There's the mouse. Did you see him? He just ran by. So that's another video coming up soon. One of these years I'll make a video on the restoration of this. This is the printing press that you've seen me restore in a couple of other videos. It's still in very good shape. It just has some surface rust because it's still not inside. Weighs about 1,200 pounds, so needless to say, it's not easy to move. So I got it out from the elements. I got it right here where it's sitting now. And I have new rollers. And I got the ink. And I have a design for a printing plate. So once I get that all together, this is a video that's going to come up soon. It's just been a matter of time and logistics. I got a call from my friend Ari who said, hey, I got a phone booth here, do you want it before I scrap it? So of course I took the phone booth and I just stood it up in the weeds out here in the property, and everyone loves to come and take a picture inside this. If we ever get a season 2 of Dirty Money, we'll turn it into a bathtub or a discotheque or something. This is my Henry lever action Colt 45. I'm not big with guns, but I can appreciate good design, and I really love this thing. It's actually pretty cool and it's extremely powerful. Let's shoot off a couple rounds for fun. So thank you all to my 100,000 plus subscribers. Here's to 100,000 more. Thank you all very much for the support, the kind emails, the great comments. Thank you so much. And please respect power tools. They're extremely dangerous if they're not used properly. I have 40 plus years experience, so you see me using things with a certain comfort level that you'll need to develop for yourself. If you see me do a trick and you think it's dangerous, it's probably dangerous. Don't try it unless you develop your skills over years and years of practice and years of experience. So thank you all very much, and please, please be safe.